In this lesson, we will learn how to create seamless cycles in Max. So here we have our creature, and what we'll do is work on creating an idle for it, so we'll have him breathe, and we'll learn some tips for creating seamless cycles as we put this all together. Now, the first thing we should think about is the creature's weight, the creature's size, and mannerisms as well. So you get where I'm going with this. We want to create a brief biochart of just some things that point out the creature's physical properties as well as his characteristics. And that way we know what type of timing to use to make him look believable. So since we'll have him breathe and he is a pretty heavy, pretty massive creature, we'll want to use several frames to indicate that he has a lot of weight that he's carrying. For lighter characters, we'd want to use lesser frames. So in this case, we have about 100 frames to work with. I think we can drop the frame count here. If you wanted to add more variety to your cycle, you most certainly can use more frames. But let's go ahead and adjust the active time segment. We'll hold down Control-Alt and drag with the right mouse button to adjust our end time. And we're going to go ahead and set that to an end time of 60. All right, great. So from there, we're now going to start animating the center of gravity to have the creature kind of move up and down so it looks like he's breathing. At that point, we'll then go in and add some rotation. Now, why would we use this range of 0 to 60? Well, this is going to give us a really nice midpoint, which is going to be frame 30. What's also great is that we have a midpoint then between 0 and 30 and 30 and 60. They would be 15 and 45. So again, this is all so that we can achieve a really seamless looking animation. Another important thing to keep in mind about a cycle is that your first and last frame should be identical. So when we loop the animation, again, this all plays back very smoothly. There are no pops or snaps. So let's go ahead and make sure we have a keyframe on frame 1. Now, we will be using auto key so we can speed up the time it takes to create animation. So let's go ahead and make sure we enable that. We could also check our key filters. It should already be set to position, rotation, and custom attributes. We could go ahead and close that out. And on frame 0, we'll go ahead and use the big key button to lock down a keyframe here. Now let me show you, you can actually go in and clone this keyframe to frame 60 easily by holding down the Shift key and dragging this key to wherever you'd like it to be placed. So I'm going to place that on 60. The same thing works in the curve editor as well. We can clone keys that way. I really enjoy that because it's very straightforward. All right, so now that our first and last frames are identical, we can now go to frame 30, and we can go ahead and create a change here where we have our creature move down. So remember, when we're animating movement, we should be in parent mode, so we know exactly what axis we're animating. And with our rotate gizmo, we should use gimbal mode for the same reason. So I'll now go to the Move tool, and on frame 30, we'll go ahead and just translate the creature down just slightly. Remember, this is subtle. So now here's what we end up with when we play this back. Now it looks as if the creature's starting to breathe, which is really nice. So by adding some rotation to this, we'll really start to improve the animation. Let's go ahead and add that now. So remember, we have some really nice midpoints using 15 and 45. So let's go ahead and make sure this is timed right. As the creature is moving down for some follow through, we want the center of gravity to rotate up slightly. So we'll go ahead and grab our rotate manipulator. We're working in the x-axis. We'll go ahead and just rotate the creature up just slightly. All right, beautiful. So now he's starting to rotate up. Now we need to have him rotate down as he starts to move up. So we'll go to frame 45 and rotate him down just slightly. Beautiful. So here's what we end up with when we play this back. Now it looks as if the creature is actually breathing. Very cool. Now, there's one thing we'll need to tweak here, and that's this pause that we get in our rotate x-axis. Well, why is that happening? To know this, we can go ahead and take a look at our curve editor. That'll tell us exactly what the issue is. So I'll go ahead and stop the animation. Let's right-click and head over to our curve editor. All right. So from here, we can focus on our zero Euler x-axis. And if we go ahead and use our extends tools to go ahead and zoom into this function curve, you can see exactly what the problem is. We have flat interpolation as we exit our first key and flat tangency as we enter our last key. But notice how the rest of the animation flows. Okay, notice how we have this really nice flow at our midpoint. So we essentially want to get that same result for our start and end. Now, before we tweak any of our tangents, we should first loop the animation. Let's go ahead and have it cycle infinitely. So to do so, we'd simply highlight the tracks we'd like to apply this to. I'm going to go in and highlight the 0 rotation list as well as the 0 position list. We essentially want to grab all tracks that we would like to apply the cycle to. If you're working on doing this to the entire control rig, you could always make sure again that your auto select is set to animated. So as you open up the curve editor, they're already highlighted. If I were to go ahead and close this out, right click and open up the curve editor again, you can see all of the tracks we need are highlighted. We can head over to Edit, Controller, and grab Out of Range Types. And this is how we would apply a cycle. Here it is, the second choice. If you want to turn off the cycle, you could see we'd use Constant, but we'll want to use Cycle in this case. Great, so now we can go ahead and choose OK. And let's go ahead and take a look at our Rotate X channel again. Now you can see that the animation continues infinitely before and after time, which is great. And now we can get a clear indication of why we're getting that pause by looking at the infinite curve. So all we'll need to do here is go ahead and take our start and end keys. I first like to make sure that they are between our highest and lowest key. So we can go ahead and highlight them, hold down Control, and start to drag until that is the case. All right, so this is going to work out well. And now what we can do is go in and start to adjust our tangency so that we have the smooth flow at the start. I'll go ahead and select the tangent at the very end. And again, we'll go ahead and adjust that so we have a smooth flow. And take a look at our infinite curve now. Notice how it blends. Beautiful. So what that means is that we no longer will have a pause when we play the animation back. How exciting is that? Great. We can now set the animation to an even greater length. We can hold down Control-Alt and use the right mouse button to increase the animation to, let's say, 140. And now when we play this through, you can see that he will continue to breathe. How exciting is that? It's really cool. So in this lesson, we have learned how to create a seamless cycle. If you'd like to learn more about this, feel free to take a look at our walk and run cycle tutorials to learn how to apply this to the entire body. We've just taken a look at the center of gravity, but we can no doubt just go in and add some follow through to the other controls here. You might add a little bit of side to side action just to make sure that this idle by the end looks super realistic. Well, that's the lesson on cycling animation. Now I'd like to show you how to plot your cycled animations, and I'll show you that in the following lesson.